Hey, what's up, you guys? This is John Moyer from the band Disturbed, and you are listening to the Nothing Shocking podcast.
Want to know what's going on in the world of music? Then tune in to the Nothing Shocking podcast, a non-genre based, all-ages friendly rock and roll program. Join us weekly for interviews with all your favorite rock stars from the mainstream to the underground. You can find us at nothingshocking.libsyn.com or anywhere you download podcasts.
Welcome to the night. You think you know Night Demon? Then the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast is for you. Step into the darkness as we peel back the curtain to give you an unprecedented, all-access look into the mind and the heart of the demon. We're talking band history, song analysis, studio anecdotes, stories from the road. It's everything a diehard Night Demon fan could want and more. This is the only place to learn the inside scoop, the deep dive trivia, the untold tales from the band members themselves and those closest to the Night Demon story. Need more? The Sacred Night Demon Crypt will be pried open to reveal demo recordings that have never before seen the light of day, all with in-depth commentary by the band and the people who were there for the writing and recording process. This is a gold mine, a treasure trove of all things Night Demon. Head over to nightdemon.net or wherever you listen to podcasts.
We're putting the band back together.
The numbers all go to 11.
I'm talking about bands that rock. Led Zeppelin. What about Sabbath? AC/DC. Motorhead.
Does that mean it's louder? Is it any louder?
Well, it's one louder, isn't it?
We're not worthy! We're not worthy!
Why don't you just make 10 louder and make 10 be the top number and make that a little louder?
These go to 11.
I get up off the ground and raise my head. Days like this, think I should be dead. One for Satan, two for me. Let's cheat the devil, it's fun, don't you agree?
Welcome to the Nothing Shocking podcast. I'm your co-host, Jeff Untied, and with me in Dog Bowl Studios is
Coach Nez.
You can find the Nothing Shocking podcast on Libsyn or any podcatchers. Like our Facebook page or follow us on Twitter at NoShockPod.
You can also find the Nothing Shocking podcast on Rock Rage Radio every Sunday morning at 7 a.m. Central Time. Our sponsor is Ragged Records, located in downtown Rock Island, Illinois, and now in downtown Davenport, Iowa. We would like to thank the Hong Kong Sleepover for allowing us to use their music for our intro and bumper ending. Tonight's guest is
John Moyer of Disturbed.
Fantastic interview.
Yeah.
Fantastic human being, too.
Yeah. Big fan. I'm a big fan of Adrenaline Mob. He was in there for a little bit. And
yeah, as soon as we conducted this interview, it was right after he had gotten back from Hawaii where he proposed. So yeah, nice. He's going to get married. So yeah. Fantastic interview, very informative, and let's get to it.
All right, good night.
Good night. John, welcome to the Nothing Shocking podcast. I'd like to introduce to you my co-host, Jeff Untied.
John, this is going to be fun to talk to you tonight.
Hey, Jeff, how's it going? How are you guys doing?
Oh, fantastic. So we're so excited to have you on the show tonight. We were supposed to have you on a few months ago, and things have changed quite a bit on the COVID end of things. You know, the restrictions have kind of been lifted everywhere, and live shows are coming back. As far as live shows go, I know we were seeing facilities and bands playing to like 25% capacity, things like that. How were these shows able to be successful with such a minimum capacity? Do you have any idea?
I mean, I think, honestly, I really have no idea. You know, I think people were just trying to like keep it going, keep their lights on. I don't think any of these venues were really making any money off it. I don't think the bands were really making any money off it. I mean, there might have been a higher ticket price, but really with that limited engagement, it's just not the same as a real concert, you know, with everybody there. But I think there was enough people who miss live music that they wanted to see these shows even at 25% capacity. And I think, you know, I think that as fans, they appreciated these bands so much that I guarantee you they bought up a lot of the merch. to help the bands, make ends meet. But I don't think anyone was really making any money on it. I think it was more just trying to keep the flame, the fire alive.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We've talked to some other artists, and they've said that they're never going to take a sweaty bar for granted again. What are you most looking forward to in getting back out on the road?
Man, I've taken almost Disturbed our last show was in October of 2019, and then we were going to tour in 2020 in spring and summer, and then obviously COVID hit spring of 2020.
Yeah.
So coming up this October, it'll be 2 years since I've been on stage, and it's the longest time in my career since I was 16 years old that I haven't done a show.
Oh. Wow.
It's very unnerving. So, I mean, getting back to it, obviously, really looking forward to it. When Disturbed took our hiatus back in 2011, I played with a lot of different bands. I played with Adrenaline Mob. I played with Jeff Tate's Operation Mindcrime. I played with a band called Art of Anarchy. I did a thing called Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp. I played with a lot of different people. So, I was still playing like bars and venues and theaters and even some arenas and festivals and stadiums, even when Disturbed took a break. So, this is weird for me to go so long without doing a show. We have one festival date coming up in November. It's called Welcome to Rockville, and it's in Daytona Beach, Florida. And that's the only thing we currently have on the books. So, I don't see us really, going back out until spring or summer of next year. Which, I think there's a lot of bands that are excited to be out right now, and I think it's great. But I also think, maybe, I don't want to rush into it. Everybody's trying to get out right now. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I think it's great. So I think, Disturbed, I think we're in a position where we can wait a little longer, and, we'll come out, next year when we can do the kind of show we want to do with the kind of production we like to do. I think a lot of bands are having to definitely, compromise the way they tour right now because, there's not as many shows available, and there's so many bands that want to play. There's a lot less guys available on the crew to work. Mm-hmm. So I even though shows are back, I don't think they're back in the capacity that they were pre-pandemic. With the production levels and the pyro and these kind of things, because we're just getting back to it now. Setting those kind of shows up takes a lot of time and a lot of foresight. You got to plan these tours 6 months in advance, and it's just impossible to do right now with. Because we're just now reopening. So for us, what I'm looking forward to, not just coming back and being on stage, but I'm looking forward to coming back and bringing back the big shows again, and bringing back the kind of show that in Disturbed that we like to bring to our fans.
Absolutely. So, during the whole COVID pandemic lockdown, you've kind of been very busy working and producing as a producer, but also on the non-music side of things. You had to deal with the winter Texas, the storm that you guys had all that snow down in Texas, and you also got engaged during the pandemic. So I guess maybe before we kind of break this, talk this as a broad, but break this down, can you talk a little bit more about that storm that hit Texas this past winter?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, the snowpocalypse.
Yeah.
As we like to call it. So I've lived in Texas my whole life. I was born in El Paso, Texas, which is very hot. And then I've been in Austin for about 23 or 24 years now. And I've never experienced the kind of cold in Texas that we had during that, snowpocalypse. So, it's one thing it's like if you're up north and it's cold, they're prepared for it. Yeah. It's not so scary because they salt their roads, for the ice, and the electrical grid in particular is prepared for it. So, you have a home to be in, it's going to be warm. What was really scary about this, besides the fact that you couldn't get on the roads at all, I mean, it was like a week. It was ice upon ice upon ice. You could not drive on the road. You would just slide everywhere. We don't have salt trucks or snow plows to clear the roads. So you're stuck wherever you're at. And then on top of that, the power went out. So, me and my family were sitting downstairs in our living room, no power for a full day, and it's getting towards the evening time. We got candles lit, but a lot of homes in Texas don't even have fireplaces. My house, for example, doesn't even have a fireplace, And all of a sudden we start seeing our breath. And I'm just like, okay, here we go. I'm like, I guess, what are we going to do? I guess we're all going to sleep in the same bed tonight and just cover ourselves up and just rely on body heat. It was scary. We're just not used to that. And it really makes you realize, honestly, how dependent we are on our modern technologies, on electricity, on, we're pretty spoiled compared to people from 100 or 200 years ago. So, but I will say this, I had my son with me and my fiance had her son, and, we got through it together. We were a team. We played games, we hung out a lot, and then every once in a while the power would come on for like maybe an hour, maybe 2 hours. And during that time we would just run the heat. We'd try to warm up the house as much as possible. And then as soon as the power went off, we'd shut our bedroom doors, to lock in the heat.
Sure.
Yeah.
So everybody could go back in their bedroom, at night. It was, we had a whole thing of it. It was pretty weird, man.
Oh.
And then of course, then there was a rush on food because we knew it was coming. And so, people were hoarding, toilet paper, which is typical,
of course.
Plus, everything else. What's great is we have this grocery store here in Texas called HEB. And if you know anyone from Texas, they will tell you one of the best things about Texas is the HEB grocery stores. They know how to ration everything out to everybody. They're really good at making sure that it's supplied with the things that are needed. They kept everything going during all that time. And then, when everything thawed and everyone was rushing back into the store, they were well staffed to make sure that everybody could get what they needed. And they did the same thing during COVID. During the COVID grocery rushes, HEB stepped up and, they made sure that you couldn't buy too much of one thing. And on their websites, they tell you, when they had stuff that was in there. And it's just, it's nice to have that kind of support, from a grocery store, as opposed to during the snowpocalypse. Like, I was looking at going to a hotel because my house had no power. I called a couple of these hotels and they were charging $1,200 a night.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And I'm like, that's evil. That's evil, price gouging. Yeah. So, it's nice to know, like I said, HEB, our grocery store, they take care of the community, and they really stepped up during the COVID pandemic and during our snowpocalypse. I know it's funny to hear a rock star talk about a grocery store, but the truth is, if you're from Texas, you know what I'm talking about. We've got some problems in Texas, with our government, obviously our electrical grid, but we all agree if HEB was running our electrical grid, it wouldn't have gone down.
Well, let's kind of touch upon during COVID-19 here, your work as a producer. How busy were you able to stay during this time of lockdown?
A little hit and miss. Normally I fly out to see bands and work with them. And I wasn't comfortable going into other environments. Honestly, I did a lot of stuff remotely. So I'd have people send me stuff and I would do some mixing or some instrumentation for some of my artists like that. But it wasn't until towards the end, I kind of took a chance. So, not this past this past November, before I had gotten my vaccine, I went ahead and I flew to Pittsburgh to work with a band. So definitely pushing it because that was my first time traveling.
Yeah.
But it worked out well. The band was called Stone Cold Killer. And these guys, they were telling me, they're like, look, we're not going out. We're not doing anything. The five of us, the only people we hang out with is each other. So, I was like, okay, that's fine. So that was a good experience, but, I love producing and I do it a lot when I'm off, but during COVID, I was pretty low key actually. I didn't feel super comfortable being out, it was hard to know what was real and what was not. Cause I don't know if you remember, but when the pandemic first kind of hit and they told us, look, we're going to shut down the country for 2 weeks or a month or whatever. Everyone was like, well, does COVID, live on surfaces, on cardboard? So like I'm getting groceries, I'm cleaning my groceries. I'm going out to the mailbox and I'm like sanitizing my mail, because nobody knew.
Yeah.
And I didn't know, I mean, obviously we know a lot more about it now. And now, everybody's got vaccines and, it seems like we're on the other side of it. But those first couple months were pretty scary. And I shut down completely. our kids stopped going to school. They did remote learning, and we were just here at our house, week in, week out, just hunkering down, trying to do our part by doing nothing, right?
Absolutely. Well, we're really going to change gears on you here, but we've spoke to many artists during the pandemic, and most artists feel like this time under the pandemic that we'll see a renaissance in rock and roll as far as a pop culture movement. What are your thoughts on that?
You mean like by people being so creative during the downtime?
Exactly. And let's face it, rock and roll is not the forefront of pop culture anymore. I think that this downtime, what we've learned from many artists, that they've got some creative juices back in them. They feel that when everything is lifted and we're back to the norm again, that maybe rock and roll might feel that renaissance come back to the popular culture. Do you have a kind of a thought process and all that?
I think everything is cyclical, so I think that, even though rock and roll kind of falls by the wayside sometimes, then it comes back, then it goes away, then it comes back. But I do feel the energy in the industry right now, not only with people doing live shows, but I feel like record labels, such as they are starting to really push fans more. I feel like maybe everybody needed a little bit of a break, and we realized how much we miss playing music and writing music and creating music and putting it out there. It's a grind. That's the truth. For any musician out there, especially the young artists, it's hard. And I think maybe having a break, give everybody a chance to kind of recharge their batteries, And I do feel like there is a strong push right now from a lot of artists, both my contemporaries and also by a lot of the artists that I produce, the up and coming guys and also the guys who are established. It feels like there's an energy that's there now that I don't think was there pre-pandemic. And I guess that comes from, not being able to have it for a while. You appreciate it. So, I hope that's the case. Already there's so much good music coming out. I'm loving this new record, Mammoth.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of great music that's coming out right now. It's going to be, I don't know if I would call it a renaissance, but I think there's definitely going to be a new energy, and a new excitement about rock and also live shows. I think live shows are going to be very well attended during the next couple of years.
Oh, fantastic. Jeff, you got this next one on?
Yeah, let's go back. So you've had some various side projects and stuff besides Disturbed you've worked on. Were you working on any side projects during the COVID downtime?
No, I sure wasn't, man. Right now, Disturbed was kind of in the middle of a touring cycle.
Yeah.
So whenever I do a side project, it's when Disturbed's not working.
Yeah.
Like if we're taking a hiatus or something like that. Disturbed's my main band. That's my one true love,
Oh yeah.
And I love playing with other people, and I love having had the opportunity to work with so many other great artists, but mostly I've done that out of necessity. But when Disturbed's touring and we're doing our thing, those three guys are my favorite musicians on the planet, my favorite group of guys to be around, my favorite types of songs to play, my favorite fans. So, for me, no side project right now. I'm just 1,000% Disturbed. And when I do side stuff, it's mostly on the production end. And that's mostly just me working with other artists, helping their dreams become a reality.
Yeah,
Man, I've been so lucky in this business. I've been so successful, not only as a musician, but as a producer, but as, all different aspects of the music world. I had a music school here in Austin that we had a lot of great musicians who came out of it. And I just feel like, when I produce, it's my kind of opportunity to sort of give back and give other people an opportunity to get their art and to get their, to get their music out there. So yeah, no side projects right now, man. I'm just 1,000% Disturbed. Even though we're not out touring right now, we are going to be here very soon. I expect by spring we'll be out, guns a-blazing.
Yeah.
As we're on the Disturbed topic here, can you talk more about your journey in Disturbed and how it came to be for you?
Sure. So, for those of you who don't know, I'm not the original bass player. The original bass player's name is Fuzz. So, and I knew Fuzz because I was in a band called Union Underground, and Union Underground had done some touring with Disturbed, both on Ozfest and some other stuff back in 2001. So I knew the guys in the band. So Fuzz played on the first two records, Sickness and Believe.
Yeah.
And then I believe it was 2003, November of 2003, Disturbed announced the departure of Fuzz. Coincidentally, November of 2003 was also when Union Underground broke up. So I had a couple of the guys' phone numbers, and I sent them some messages, but they were being inundated with tons of different bass players. Everybody under the sun wanted an opportunity, So I bided my time. I let them know I wanted the gig, and there were people in the industry who I knew, managers and even people at their label. And, I kept prodding. I kept going, hey, let them know I want the gig. And nothing really came back. They knew I wanted the gig, but I don't think I was really on their radar. So what happened was in April of 2004, they held an open audition, and they did one of these open auditions in LA and another one in Chicago. And at the time, I didn't have much money. Union Underground was broken up. At that time, I was working a day job. I didn't have, any bands I was really playing with that were doing anything. And I saw that they were holding an open audition in Chicago. I scraped together the money. I got a plane flight out there. And I went and I stood in line with 300 other bass players.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It was crazy. I was like number 67, 68 in line. And there were so many good players there. The guy in front of me was like the touring bass player for Boston. The guy behind me had fingers like hammers. And, I'm sitting in line with like 2 or 3 hours with these guys. So we're all getting to know each other, And I did not tell the guys in Disturbed I was there. I wanted them to know that I was willing to earn it. I didn't want to be walked in. I was willing to stand in line. I was willing to do whatever they expected anyone else to do. I was willing to do it 1,000%. Mm-hmm. So I stood in line. I get in front of them. I walk in the room, and we had to learn like 3 songs. And when you get to the door, they tell you what song you're going to play. And basically you walk in, you play like a minute of it. And they're just sitting on chairs with clipboards like American Idol.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask.
And you're just on stage playing along, to the CD or whatever, to tracks. So I get to the door. They go, okay, your song's going to be The Game. I go, all right. I knew that one pretty well. I walk in. David Draymond, singer for Disturbed. First thing he says, John, just right away, John, what are you doing here? Because it was like, if we wanted you, we would have called you, because what are you doing here? I go, I'm here for the gig, just like everybody else, guys, And he said, sorry to hear about Union Underground. And I go, man, that's part of my past. I'm here for my future. Awesome. And they rolled the track. I played it. As soon as it was done, I put my bass away. I closed it. And I've been on the other side of that, where I've auditioned guitar players for bands and things like that. So I know what it's like. So I was like, as soon as I was done, I just closed it. And I go, man, thanks, guys, a lot. It's a great opportunity. You got a lot of guys out there who are so excited to play for you. This is a really cool thing you guys are doing. And I just walked out. Cool. I didn't go up to them like, so do I got the gig? Hey, I guess we could send everyone home now. You know what I mean? Like, that's just not my style. I'm respectful, So I said, thanks, guys. And I packed up my bass and I walked out the door. And it wasn't until I walked out that door that I realized how nervous I was. I walked out the door and I was shaking like a leaf. I was just like, whoa. It didn't happen when I was in the room. It was like my nerves, stayed calm until I got out of that room. I walked out and I was like, I was proud of myself. I thought, you know what? I nailed it. And if they don't want me now, I can accept that. Like mentally, I can accept it. The whole time I'm thinking, well, they might not want me, but I'm not going to accept that until they see me live or until I get an audition. I felt like it was my gig, or I just felt like I deserved a shot, So I'm walking out the door and I'm walking in the parking lot, and their manager chases me out the door, Jeff Battaglia, and he's got this thick Chicago accent, and he's like, hey, John, so the guys like you. How about you come back tomorrow and, you can play with them live, play with them and, come back for a second audition. I was like, sounds good, man. I'll be here. So came back the next day. There was about 5 of us. I think I was the only callback from the Chicago audition, and you know, jumped on stage. I played Prayer. I played a couple of the songs with them, and then a week later they called me. They go, "So John, it's between you and this other guy. He's a Chicago native. He's young. He's hungry, and he knows all the songs. It's his Easter weekend." And I go, "Okay." They go, "We want you to come out for another audition, but the guys want you to learn all the songs." So it's like 2 records worth of songs plus a couple of B-sides. It's like 30 songs, you know? So this is a Friday. They want to fly me out Monday, and it's Easter weekend. So I got 3 days to learn 30 songs, you know?
Yeah, that's awesome.
And of course I go, yeah, man, no problem. I'll be there, you know? So I locked myself in my little, you know, my room, and I just, you know, learned as many of the songs as I could, and, you know, ended up learning all the songs. So I show up on Monday. They pick me up at the airport, take me to the hotel. It's getting kind of late. And Jeff, the manager's got me. He's like, "Okay, we're going to go meet up with the guys right now. We're going to have dinner first, and then we're going to go jam." I'm like, okay. So we go to dinner at Fogo de Chao. Do you know what Fogo de Chao is?
We do not.
No.
It's a Brazilian steakhouse where it's so much food, it's crazy. Like, you have like a coaster and you turn it green or red. And if it's green, they just keep bringing you food until you finally, like, you say mercy and you flip the coaster over to red.
Oh, I could have done some damage back in the day.
Oh, my God. So we're there. I've never been in a place like this before. We're there and we're eating so much food. And I'm like, we're going to jam after this? Like, I'm just like, there's no way. I can't even walk.
Yeah.
So we're sitting at dinner, and David goes, "So, John, did you learn all the songs?" I go, "I did." He goes, "Gentlemen, let's raise our glasses to the new bass player of Disturbed."
Oh,
I was like,
fantastic.
"What?" And they go, "Yeah, there was no other bass player. We just wanted to mess with you."
That's awesome. So cool.
I'm like, "Are you kidding?" I go, "So we're not going to go jam?" They go, "Hell no, we're going to go drink." And that was how I got into the band.
That is a magnificent story. Fantastic.
Yeah. Your last album, 2018, Evolution. How has your writing process with the band changed since you started back in 2004, 2005?
I mean, it hasn't. The writing process is mostly Dan and David. And Mikey, too, to an extent. But Dan, man, you know, he's just a riff-writing person. He's really crafted the art of the Disturbed sound.
Yeah.
You know, we have a sound. Like, you don't even need to hear David's voice. You can hear that guitar tone.
Yeah.
And even the style of the writing. And it's almost like AC/DC. You're like, oh, that's Disturbed.
Exactly.
So you know, Dan kind of figured that out early on. So even on Evolution, so I guess what did change was, you know, with Evolution, we opened ourselves up to a softer side. So Sound of Silence obviously was a bit of a standout song for us on the previous record. And I think because of Sound of Silence, it opened up the door for us to do more slower paced, ballady songs. So we decided on Evolution to, you know, we had our bangers, our songs that, you know, pump people up that Disturbed's known for.
Yeah.
But we also gave ourselves the opportunity to write some slower songs, some ballads. So A Reason to Fight, Hold On to Memories, those songs obviously, you know, came from Dan. Dan's always been smart about like how he writes songs and how he evolves. For example, the first 2 records had no guitar solos, but he could always play solos. He just didn't want to do it yet.
Yeah.
And then 10,000 Fists had solos, and then we introduced, so it was like a new aspect to the Disturbed sound. And then after Sound of Silence, it was like, oh, now there's another new aspect to the Disturbed sound, but it's still within the wheelhouse. So, I guess Evolution, the writing style did change, I guess, but the way it happens is still the way it always happens with Disturbed. You know, they'll talk, you know, we'll talk about like, you know, what kind of direction we want to go in, you know, what are we feeling? So, you know, do we want to be political? Do we want to be angry? Do we want to write some ballads? Or do we want, you know, what direction, what haven't we done that we can touch on? Mm-hmm. And I think, we allowed ourselves that freedom with Evolution. And Dan, wrote some great songs with A Reason to Fight and Hold On to Memories. He writes the music, and then David gets a hold of it, and he's such a great. See, one of the great things about Disturbed is it's not just the music; it's the lyrics. David's a great lyricist, and and that's what keeps fans coming back.
Yeah.
Like when you hear a good song, you like it, but you keep coming back when you get into the lyrics. The lyrics are what keeps you there. And I think a big part of our fan base for having a longevity with our fan base is because they connect with David's lyrics. So, and he delivered as he always does, on the Evolution record. And it was a change for us. What's great about the Evolution record though, is with having those ballads, when we do a live show, we're not just playing like an hour and a half or 2 hours of just like, just sickness or indestructible or prayer.
Yeah.
We have these moments in the show where it like really breaks down, and we have acoustic guitars, and we have piano, and we have timpanis, and we have violins. It's crazy. Like it really, the depth of a Disturbed show now, between Sound of Silence and the Evolution record is bigger than anything we've ever been able to do in the past. So, that's one of the things I'm most proud of. I think, yes, as a band, we've grown on the records, but I think the biggest difference for me is when you come see us live, we really take you on a journey.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I know you wanted to keep this right around 30 minutes, and we're encroaching the 20.
Are we already there? That was fast. I talk a lot.
It goes fast.
We're at the 29th minute here, and I know about Jeff. I had like 3 more questions to ask you.
Yeah, no, let's go. We're fine.
Okay, all right. Well, very good. So, you talked about the Union Underground and Education and Rebellion album. That album sold close to 500,000 copies. Can you talk more about the creation of that album and your time in the Union Underground?
Sure. So, Union Underground, that band was based out of San Antonio, Texas. Mm-hmm. And I remember, I was in a band called Soak at the time, and my band Soak was signed to Interscope Records. And we had just maybe gotten dropped by Interscope, so we were kind of floating around. I think then we were on Sire Records, and maybe we were looking for another deal somewhere. And I remember doing a show in San Antonio with these guys, the Union Underground. They opened for us, but I remember seeing their merch, seeing their setup, their show. Everything was very pro level. So these guys were they were acting like they were already signed. They were already the level of music that they were putting out there and the level of the live show and the level of their merchandise was already top quality. And then what happened was I was doing a show with Soap. We were headlining in Austin, Texas at a now gone venue called La Zona Rosa. And there was a knock at the door, at our dressing room door. My guitar player answered it. He comes over to me and he goes, there's a couple guys here who want to talk to you, John. I go, okay. So I go out, and it's the guitar player and the singer for Union Underground. And they're like, hey, man. I'm like, hey. They're like, oh, I'm Brian. I'm Patrick. I'm like, okay, cool. They go, so, I know you got a show tonight with Soak, but we want you to join our band. And I was like, that's ballsy. I have a headlining show. We just sold out a 1,200 seat show in Austin. And I got this other band that's coming around going, we want you to join our band. I was like, let's take baby steps. Well, Soap, Soap was going in a direction where I wanted to be heavier, and they were kind of going in a song. We were losing our traction songwriting. I don't know, something was falling apart with Soap for me. So I remember calling the guys back in Union, and I said, hey man, let's get together and jam. So they were in the process of getting signed to Columbia Records, finishing out their record. I jammed with them. And once I jammed with them, I knew it. I knew where my heart wanted to be. So I was like, yeah, this is the kind of music I want to do. So, we had 3 songs left on the record. So, I went out to LA. So I only played 3 songs on the record. They had done most of the record themselves already. But I played on Turn Me On, Mr. Deadman, South Texas Death Ride, and a song called Dribble. And then Turn Me On, Mr. Deadman ended up being one of our big hits. And then that's it, then we toured, we did our thing. For various reasons, we couldn't pull it together for a second record. And then, of course, I joined Disturbed. But that's how, the Union thing happened. It was great. We went to Europe. We did an Ozfest. I learned a lot. Those guys were really, really good musicians. I learned a lot about production from those guys, and I learned a lot about how to play, like how to really jam with a band. They had a really cool, unique style that I appreciated learning from them.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. Jeff, you got this next one?
Yeah, I was just gonna say. I guess the only question I really had from Art of Anarchy. I know you're pretty focused on Disturbed right now, but will there ever be another Art of Anarchy CD or album?
There could be. Whether I'm involved with it or not, I'm not so sure.
Okay.
But we did 2 records. One with Scott Weiland, God rest his soul, which I love that record.
Me too.
And then the second record, which I had a lot more to do with Scott's staff. I was very disappointed with the way that record played out, and we don't need to go into detail.
Yeah.
It's public knowledge that there was some legal disputes that we're still in the middle of.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, I was very disappointed with the way that turned out. I had high hopes for it, but not everybody was as into it as I was, I guess.
Well, it made it all the way to the Midwest. We're into it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I loved it. It was fun. The twins in the band, the Voda brothers, John and Vince, the drummer and one of the guitar players. I think that for a while they didn't want to do it, but I think they're excited about it now. So I think they're working on a new record right now. Cool. They reached out to me. I had some demos that I had done during the Art of Anarchy era that I had actually written for them that we never used. So I sent them a couple of those songs, and this was a couple months back. I'm not sure where it's going to go from there. Like I said, my focus is Disturbed.
Yeah.
But I wish those guys all the best in the world, and I had a great time playing with them. If they move on, I don't think it'll be with the Scott staff. They'll have to find a new singer for obvious reasons.
Right.
But sometimes like the energy of a band, after 3 incarnations, like how you might as well just start a new band, in my opinion. Like sometimes I'm just like, I don't know, there's an argument on both sides. It's like, well, we had some traction, maybe we should keep it going. But then at the same time, it's like, well, maybe you should create something that's brand new and it has its own identity. I mean, this is just honest talk.
Sure.
I'm not sure. These are questions that every band has to face.
Yeah.
If they don't get the success that they need, or if they hit a roadblock, or if they hit a speed bump, then they got to think to themselves, are we going to do another record like this? Are we going to do another record differently? Or is it time to hang it up and rebrand ourselves? Do we keep playing on a name that maybe, didn't, and I'm not just talking about Art of Anarchy. I mean, there's tons of bands like this playing on a name that had its day in the sun years ago. And we're still trying to, beat a dead horse.
Exactly.
I don't know. I mean, I think there's a validity on both sides. I think that there's fans that don't want some bands to die, but I also think that moving on to something new is just as valid. So I'm not sure what's going to happen with that band, but the talent was there and it was fun. I don't know. I'm the type of guy, I like moving on. I like keeping things fresh. So I'm not sure. We'll see how it goes.
Fair enough.
And how do you label Art of Anarchy? Do you label it as a band, or is it more of a project?
I think it's more. It's a little bit of both. It is a project on some level, but it is a band because the core of it, is me, the Voda brothers, and Bumblefoot.
Yeah.
And that's some pretty good musicianship right there.
Oh, yeah.
But obviously the only thing that kept floating in and out was the singer. So it's actually more of a band in a lot of ways.
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
You had touched upon Soak briefly when we were discussing the Union Underground, but can you kind of go into a little bit more detail about the origins of Soak? And it was, from 95 to 99?
Yeah, pretty much. I joined Soak in 1996. I had just moved to Austin, Texas. I came to Austin with a band, and that kind of fell apart. And then one of my problems I learned early on when I was starting a band was I would start a band and then I would try to find a singer. And I felt like every band I was in, we just had a revolving door of singers. So after the band that I moved to Austin with kind of fell apart, I go, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm going to join a band that has a singer. Like, I'm going to reverse my thinking on this. Yeah. And it was like the next week, and I knew the guys in Soak. It was like the next week that they put out an ad, looking for a bass player. Mm-hmm. I was like, and so, I auditioned, did my thing, eventually got the gig. And then we got signed to Interscope Records pretty quickly after that. And I was 22 years old. Already signed to a major label record, working on a major label album. So it was definitely validation that I was choosing the right path. I was like, okay, this is good. Because every musician, there comes a time when, if you don't get some success, you have to like question why are you doing it.
Yes.
You do it because you love it, but can you do it as a career? Can you do it full time? Can you do it at the expense of everyone else in your life? Can you do it at the expense of your own life? Because you're touring, you're out, you're away from everybody, the people you care about, the people you want to, it's fun when you're young, but as you get older, life catches up with you. So that was nice at 22 years old, already knowing, oh, I got signed. I have a publishing deal. I have a band. I'm doing it. It definitely gave me the confidence that when After Soak broke up, that I felt like I could continue.
Oh, so cool.
Yeah.
Wanted to kind of discuss one of my favorite subjects, Adrenaline Mob.
Yeah.
Jeff
I love that band. I love that band so much.
Yeah, Jeff and I are huge fans. What will the status be of Adrenaline Mob? Is it something that we'll ever see come back to fruition again?
I don't think so. The problem with Adrenaline Mob is not the songs, it's not the musicianship, it's not even the camaraderie. It's the black cloud that follows that band. And, we know what happened with the horrible bus accident, but that's just one of many other accidents. I left the band after we got in a wreck on tour with Avenged Sevenfold. And that coincided with my divorce. It was horrible, bro. One of the worst times of my life. I wrecked that van. In the meantime, I'm on the phone with my wife, and she tells me while I'm looking at my crushed van and my crushed band and my broken guitars that she wants a divorce. It was like, well, what? And that was just, and honestly, I could go back. Like that was when I was in the band with AJ Perot. And then AJ continued, and then he died on tour with them. And then before that, we were in Europe with Mike Portnoy, and there were issues in Europe that, I don't need to discuss, but that's what led Portnoy to leave the band. Like, it just goes on and on. There was always this weird black cloud that was around Adrenaline Mob. And, it's sad because I love those guys and I cared about everybody deeply and I love the music we were playing. And when we were having a good time, we were having the best time. But when we were having a bad time, it was the worst.
It's such a shame because the music that was created by that band
are awesome.
Yeah, fantastic. All right, so I have one last question to ask you, then we'll leave you alone for the night. Deal?
Sure.
So the state of Texas, was it the first state to lift restrictions, COVID-19 restrictions for live music? Is that correct?
I mean, we lifted it for everything. Governor Abbott just goes, we're opening it up completely. Just like, it was weird, just like came out of nowhere. We weren't quite ready for that. And we were still only at like 20% vaccination. I was a little surprised he did that. One of the things that was really scary was people who would finally were putting their kids back in school. And it was like, we only had like 2 or 3 weeks left. So thankfully the schools were like, well, we're going to keep our masks and our attendance and our social distancing restrictions in place till the summertime. I thought that was really careless of him, actually, to just open it up. Like, it's like he didn't even think about it. You know what I mean? I was like, you're not going to do this in stages? Like, I don't know. But whatever, it's turned out okay. So what do I know? We don't seem to be getting hit by the COVID wave or anything like that. And everybody seems to be okay now. Now, I guess, our vaccination rate in Texas is around 41%. So I guess all's well that ends well. But I definitely thought that was weird.
With that being said, did you notice a big influx of bands migrating to Texas to play live shows around the state?
Not really. Honestly, it mostly affected local bands. Local bands were able to go out because no national band can do a tour out of one state. Sure. It's just like you can't connect the dots. It costs too much to tour. That's one of the big issues. It's like, okay, yeah, Disturbed could do a show in Texas or in Pennsylvania or Florida or wherever, but we couldn't afford to do a tour because there's not enough stops to actually create a run that we can even not just barely break even on,
Sure.
much less, it's expensive. You have crew guys, you got gas, you got, your buses, you got your show, you got your venues. Everything adds up so much that, it's not like national acts were like, oh, I guess we can play Texas. You can't, because it's like, you can't just do 3 shows and call it a day.
Sure.
It's got to be bigger than that. So mostly what it helped with was the local bands, and honestly, it created a crazy niche where local guys were pulling tons of people because they were the only thing out there. They didn't have to compete with a Seven Dust or a Non-Point or a Disturbed or a Korn. They were the only guys playing the theaters and the clubs, and the clubs and theaters were filling up. So it was actually kind of a good thing for the local artists.
Oh, fantastic. Jeff, you got one more question.
Yeah, just a little fun question. I've been to Austin twice. Love the town. I remember down towards the end of the strip there was, I think it was Waterloo Records. There was a big record store.
Yeah.
Is that still
R.I.P.,
around?
buddy. Rest in peace.
It's out of business.
Tower Records, Waterloo Records, all that stuff. It's just record stores. They're just gone now. They don't exist. It's like I just watched the last Blockbuster on Netflix. And a lot of what's happening with that last Blockbuster. Same thing with the record industry.
Yeah.
No one needs to buy a record when everyone can just have a $10 subscription to Apple or Spotify and have access to everything.
And that's completely criminal.
I know.
It's completely.
Eric and I
why
still
would
buy
you? Yeah, but why would you buy a $10? The music industry is the only industry that back in the '80s, late '80s, you could buy a CD for $15, right?
Right.
And now for $10, like $15 for like 10 songs. Now for $10, you can have 1 million songs. I mean, talk about devaluing the music industry. But I mean, that's just where we're at now, So we'll get through it, Music is no longer something you sell. Music is something that's your advertisement for your show,
Yes.
Yeah.
It's just, and what sucks is though, it costs money to make a record. So who pays for that? A record label? What does a record label do? Sell records. No one buys records. It's just like, it's a weird catch-22. You just can't. Where does the money come from to pay for a record if you can't sell a record? But you need a record to get notoriety,
right?
So that you could tour.
Yeah.
So ultimately, touring companies, touring entities are going to have to start paying for records because that's the only place the money comes from. Merch companies are going to start paying for records because no one sells records, but that's where the money is. So when merch companies are like, well, we need more bands, well, maybe pony up some money so we can make a record. I mean, I don't see another way around it. Like, that's what's going to have to happen, because you can't sell a record anymore.
Do you feel that the tangible product will ever come back into a popular culture once again? Do you think that'll ever come back to kids again?
I mean, it's happening already. I had a meeting with these. Okay, so one of my bands had a showcase. One of the bands that I produced. It's this band called Nocturnal Affair. We had a showcase in Vegas about a month ago, and I won't tell you the label who was there, but in the conversation with the label, I was asking them, I'm like, well, how do you guys make money now? Like, what's happening? And he said vinyl. Vinyl is a big thing now for them. Vinyl and streaming. They make money on streaming, but the streaming numbers have to be outrageous.
Exactly.
So there's a lot of people who are still into vinyl, and that seems to be the last bastion of physical product. But it's out there, and people like it.
I still buy it.
Yeah, me too.
Jeff still buys it. So,
Yeah.
Well, hey, we're running out of our allotted time. We want to thank you so much for your participation.
Thank
You were
you.
a fantastic storyteller. We're gonna have your episode available in about 3 weeks. We have a few to release before yours, but when it's available, Jeff, the editing wizard, will get it all taken care of, and you'll be the first one to get it. And then please share it to all your social media if you could for us.
Absolutely, yeah. Let's create a cool, a cool. I don't know how you guys do it, but if you need some pictures from me or some, whatever you need, let me know to help promote it. And then when you're ready to promote it, I'm here for you.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
Okay.
Take
Talk to
care.
you guys later.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
escape the grip of fear. You can make your dreams come true, but you just can't.